Hi, welcome everybody. I am so excited to be on this webinar with you guys today. We have a jam-packed hour, so I'm going to make some very quick introductions, and you're going to hear a lot more about these people and some people I really consider good friends and also experts in their field. So we pulled together some great knowledge leaders in different areas of social selling, and we're really looking forward to sharing some of the secrets of social selling, things that you may not be thinking about as you approach your selling position within your company or as an individual. So this is Bryan Kramer. I am the author of H2H, Human to Human, and also President CEO of Pure Matter. This is a webinar specific to social selling, and we have on with us Bryan Eisenberg, who has, I think, almost 20 years of experience in both writing and consulting and analytics, and he's a Wall Street Journal Wall Street Journal, Business Week, USA Today, New York Times best-selling books, all kinds of good stuff, and we're excited to have you here, Bryan. John Ferrara, John comes not only from the CRM field in understanding customer relationship database, but he's kind of the father of it, if I can dub you that. He's the founder of Goldmine, which is one of the, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, but I think it's one of the oldest, if not first, CRM databases. And so talk about somebody who really knows the history of where CRM and social selling is now going. He's now the president and CEO of Nimble, and I just love talking to John, so I know you guys are going to have a blast listening to what he has to say. And finally, my dear friend Kim Garst, she's the CEO of Boom Social, and she's a consultant, a speaker, an author. She has a book coming out. I'm really excited about that, and she also has a big conference starting tomorrow on social selling. So thank you kindly for your time here today, knowing that you have a big conference starting tomorrow, specifically on this topic. So I'm going to go ahead and let Bryan take over. We're going to have 15 minutes each. Unfortunately, we've got so much content. We're going to try and pack it all in for you guys. But we are going to have this as a replay. We'll send that out to you in about 48 hours following. And the hashtag you're going to be using, as you can see up on the title screen, is H2H chat. And we've got people on Twitter here in the room with me that are going to be monitoring that, and we're going to be giving away some surprises at the end. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I'm going to tell you they are awesome. So if you put some questions out there and you engage, we are going to be giving away some really, really cool stuff. So I encourage you to tweet, H2H chat. I'd encourage you to take part as much as you can. And I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton over to Bryan Eisenberg, the man, the legend, the guy with the secrets to social selling. I'm kidding. Okay, take it over, Bryan.
Thank you so much, Bryan. Really appreciate it. Excited to be here. As Bryan mentioned, I've been focused in on online conversion and increasing online sales for almost the last 20 years. My brother and I started an agency in '98, focused exclusively on improving conversion rates. And whenever I have to go back and I have to start thinking about social selling and the first instances of social selling, I have to go back and think about Amazon. And you have to think about the power of the review, and to think about how many people today, I think it's about 1/3 of people before they make a retail purchase today, will go ahead and research those reviews on Amazon before they make that purchase. And it started in 1994 with Jeff Bezos having an idea that he wanted to be Earth's most customer-centric company. Now, here's the key component of this. If you've ever watched an interview with Jeff Bezos, if you ever paid attention to him, you realize this is not the world's most warm and fuzzy guy, right? He didn't want to become customer-centric because he loved people so much. How to learn about people, understand what them, and give them information that will help them buy. And that's the critical thing about his business model. When he wanted to go in and start giving out reviews, all the publishers were reluctant, said that's never, nobody's going to buy books if you give out reviews. But he knew very clearly that the business that he was in was customers. He wasn't in the business of selling books. And so you have to start asking yourself that as well. What can you do with your data and your content and your community to help them buy? And that's going to help you sell a lot of products. So the focus has to be on them first. So you've got to decide which business are you going to be in. Now, we see a disconnect all the time because a lot of people say, yes, it's so we focus on customers, but they interact with the company. When the customers interact with the company, they realize that the customer may not be so customer-centric. Now, think about it. It doesn't matter whether you're in the boardroom or in the stockroom. There's a research by Bain executives. Do they believe that their organization is customer-centric? 50% of those organizations said, oh, yes, we're customer-centric. They asked those specific customers, well, do you have company X is customer-centric? 8% of those customers, those companies were customer-centric. And that's a huge delivery gap. And the reason being is because there seems to be a disconnect in how you're communicating customers by throughout the organization. So where's that? If management believes, and I assume most of the people you hire want to help customers, why is there such a huge disconnect? And I think part of it obviously is because of the way marketing has changed over these last 2 decades. And there's no question that Jeff Bezos was ahead of the curve, and he realized that he could have spent a ton of money spending advertising for Amazon, but he cut his advertising back famously, his $10 million advertising budget in 1993, and he realized that, that's not where they needed to invest. They needed to invest in the product. They needed to invest in the services they had, in things like Amazon Prime and free shipping and getting products to you sooner and making more products available and having a wider selection. Because as Scott Cook, the founder of Intuit, is known to have said now, a brand is no longer what we tell consumers what it is what consumers tell each other. And it's no longer what you're finding in Google that's alone, it's what we're seeing in social media. And so social selling, and obviously reviews as well, which is part of social selling, has become critical to becoming an effective brand. Now, here's where most brands disconnect. They want to go ahead and they want to start telling their story about their brand. And they mistake that the customer really doesn't care about them at all, for the most part, right? They only think about their product or service, and I know we're going to hear from John later, who can tell you the whole history of them. Now, think about it. You may have purchased a CRM solution. You may be using one. How many hours a day do you spend thinking about CRM? John's job, an example, right, for Nimble, is how does he make you as a customer or potential customer of Nimble, right, to be the hero to solve your problem about why you'd want to use CRM. It's not about Nimble, it's about you. And so when you make the customer the hero of your brand story and how they move along their customer journey and their buying journey, you all of a sudden have a brand that can be successful in storytelling. And a great example of this is my good friend Dennis G, who's been working on this campaign for Airbnb. Some of you may have seen it. It's had over 2 million views on YouTube alone. This Belong Anywhere campaign about these 2 guards who used to sit on opposite sides of the Berlin Wall. And they tell this story of how this daughter decides to take one of the guards back on a trip to Germany, and she goes to an Airbnb and connects with someone, and it happens to have been the guard that sat on the opposite side. And nowhere are they talking about Airbnb, but they're talking about how this daughter is trying to lift the weight of this wall from her dad, right? And it's her success at being a hero and helping her father overcome his pain, right, using their brand. And that's brilliant social selling. And that's what we need to see more of. Now, what Airbnb is doing this is they have plans on how they release all their campaigns. If you go ahead and you do a quick Google search on Cinderella and Airbnb, you'll find a little video out there that they put on Fast Company that talks about their process of head and storyboarding their whole experience, everything from using customer service and analytics and all of that. And they use Pixar artists to go explain how the process goes about and how people feel from each step all the way out through all the customer journey. Now, this is a process that can take quite a long time to do, but it's incredibly valuable. Now, I'm going to give you a process in a few minutes that you can do something very similar, much quicker, and definitely not for the same kind of expense, and kind of give you the same results. Now, here's the thing. We keep hearing in social selling about the value of storytelling and the value of content. And what I find is that a lot of people want to tell great stories, but if they're not tied back into your business metrics, they don't work. And I'm going to share with you in a moment exactly how Amazon does this, how they align their brand story with their metrics and analytics for their managers so that it absolutely aligns with the customer journey. And so here's what it's taught me. Great brands today are customer-centric, are data-driven and managed by narrative. Most people don't know this, but in Amazon, when you go ahead and attend a meeting, Jeff Bezos will have a chair in the middle there that will stand for that customer. And when you go there, you don't go there with a PowerPoint. You go there with a 5 to 6 page narrative about what you want to tell. And as Seth Godin says, this process is definitely working for Amazon. And yes, they've had failures, but they experiment over. And it's this process that seems to be working for them that gets them this huge amount of social selling without them being heavily involved in social media, without them producing a ton of their own content. They let other people do it for them. And it's because they've gotten the process right. And what we want to getting a process. And this process is something that's come out of the 20-plus years that we've worked with in a book that we just released last week. And as part of the surprise, we're going to be giving away some copies of this book today, called Buyer Legends, the Executive Storyteller Guide. And it comes from our two years of working with Google and giving them a process so that everybody could be on the same page on how to tell the story to their customers and get greater success. And so I want you to take a second and think about the brand story behind Amazon. Whenever you think about Amazon, you have to think about the wide selection, the great availability, how fast they get you products, and how great of an experience you have. And the reason that's so important to understand their brand story is because whenever you talk to one of their managers, you'll find out that they are measured by 4 key metrics. Selection, they have to have up to 7 times the category depth of any of their competitors. Again, that speaks to the customer benefit. Price, they have to be between 5 to 13% lower than the top 5 competitors. Again, that speaks to the customer benefit. They're usually as cheap or as reasonable as any of the competitors. Availability, they basically ship their products and they have them to you within a day or two, about 90% of the time. They turn their inventory of millions of products over 20 times a year. Only Apple turns their inventory more times, and that's over 70 times. And Walmart, just as a comparison, turns their inventory around about 7 to 8 times a year. So pretty incredible, but again, that speaks to the benefits of the customer. Lastly, from a customer experience point of view, they score 13% higher than the American Satisfaction Index. So all of their managers are judged by these 4 categories and that's how you make all of this work. So your metrics aligned with your brand story. Now, this sounds fairly simple, and some of you may have seen the movie Hero Dreams of Sushi. And one of my favorite parts of the movie is watching him work with this apprentice. He has a restaurant, a sushi restaurant that seats about 10 people in Japan. It's about $800 for a table there for a meal. And he works with this apprentice, and this apprentice has to go ahead and make the rice for sushi over 200 times. And he throws out the rice the first 199 times. Now, most of you probably would have quit by then. But the point is, while sushi is this elegant, simple thing of a slice of fish and some rice, he works with him to get the process absolutely perfect, because if it's not perfect, it's not going to deliver the experience that the customer expects in order to pay $800 for a meal. And so the cool thing about Buyer Legends is that even if you don't get the process perfect the first time, you're still going to get benefit, and you'll get to the point, like in Amazon, where you can knock this over and over again and get incredible results time after time again. And the companies that invest in a process like this and focus in on customer experience tend to be the leaders in the S&P over and over and over again. So it's probably one of the best investments that you can ever do for your business. And we start this by understanding who your customers are, right? And it's what John will talk about, obviously, with Nimble, right? If you want to use your CRM to understand your customers, you want to sub-segment them and let them buy the way they want to buy, and use that information about them to give them the content and to provide them the journey that they need. And we use these models to start planning out what these persona journeys are going to look like. And we start looking along the way, what points can we measure? Because it's not everything that you can measure along the journey, but you want to find what points you can measure so that you can align that experience with your brand. And once you put all of those pieces together, you can now start having this buyer legend that gets shared from boardroom to stockroom. And it's told as a form of a story, a narrative, because that's what we're trained. Our brains have been connected for the last 100,000. Has turned us to human is to empathize with stories. Think about the movies that we've seen. We can recognize, and fMRI studies have shown, that characters in movies trigger things in us like they're exactly out. And so this is why we need to have personas and real people to understand how they're going through our journey and how we're expressing things. We can't just work just in spreadsheets. And that's a lot of the problems we see in a lot of organizations. They want to be data-centric, right? And they want to be customer-centered. But the second fMRI studies show that we can't be empathetic towards our customers. And so this is why you need that narrative piece, the storytelling, to tie it all together. And when you combine all those three pieces together, being customer-centric, being tied to the data-driven, and managing by narrative, you can eat the whole elephant. And I'm going to show you today how you can use a simple process to eat the elephant, that one bite at a time. So we're going to start by creating your own first legend within 90 minutes. You're going to start with picking out a perspective of your customers, right? Pick a few of your type of customers, a few of your personas, and describe them. How are they trying to approach things? Then you're going to go ahead and do what we call a pre-mortem. You're going to take a look at all the possibilities where they can go wrong. They could buy from somebody else or not at all. And you're going to identify all of those issues. That's going to be your first 25 minutes. Then you're going to do what's called a reverse chronology. You're going to write an outline, the successful of your purchase, and tell the customer with their experience the world about how great your product is, and then work backwards. What is it along the way that gets them to understand that story from the point of view of their story, of them being the hero and accomplishing that and wanting to tell the world? And then in the last 50 minutes, you're going to write a draft of that narrative. And you're going to write it this way going forward from their perspective. How they went ahead on that journey and accomplished exactly what they wanted to do. How they got where they needed to go to. Now, I'm not going to go through all the details of exactly what needs to be in a buyer legend. Again, you can pick that up in some of the articles we've written about it, and of course in the Kindle book, which is $2.99. And we're going to be giving away a bunch of these. But you're going to have things like the who, what's their objectives, what's the sequence of their steps, like we just talked about, why they're doing that, how they're feeling, what are their emotional struggles, what can hold them back, what are their constraints, what are all their alternatives or non-alternatives, and of course, lastly, how are you going to measure it? Where are the pieces where you can identify, yes, we've connected with the right persona, we've connected that right message to help them accomplish their journey. And once you do that, you could be a master of social selling, because you're going to have improved communications amongst your team, amongst your agency. You're going to improve your execution. You're going to improve your ideas behind testing. And, of course, you're going to make more money.
I'm excited to be here today because I get to talk about something that I'm passionate about, relationships, and how you can nurture relationships to turn conversations into customers and real relationships into mutually beneficial business outcomes, because ultimately it's not about selling. I think my biggest secret that you could take away today about the secrets of social selling is to stop selling. Start serving, because the more people you can serve, the more people you can help meet their goals, the more you'll win. And ultimately, that's what business is really all about, is helping other people make better decisions faster. And in some cases, that may not mean them buying your products, but you helping them find solutions. And so I think that salespeople probably have the worst reputation of any business profession, including lawyers. And the reason why is because the bag 'em tag 'em mentality that's really has resulted from Mad Men marketing mentalities. And so today, what I'd like to talk about is how it's not about prospects and customers. It's going to help you grow your business. It's about the community around your business, the sustainable garden that you're going to nurture to help you build and grow your company. And so ultimately, to have an opportunity to serve another human being, they have to see you, they have to hear you, they have to know about how you might be able to add value. So whether we're talking about your personal brand or your company brand, you need to be aware of that brand and its effect on your ability to have an opportunity to serve other business professionals. And I believe that a company brand is built on the promises it makes and the experiences it delivers to the customers. And in many cases, those experiences are delivered through the emerging social employee to the new social customer. And so I'd like to start with the power of you, because ultimately I think we all want to know what's in it for me. And I believe that the concepts of social business and social selling apply directly to each and every one of you who are listening to this today, because you will not work at the company that you're working at today in 1 to 3 years. That's the fact. Most people change jobs every 1 to 3 years, and it's not just salespeople that need to be worried about their personal brand and their professional network. Every business professional today needs to be concerned about their brand and their network, and your brand is built by the actions you take and the words that you share, and that directly affects your ability to build your professional network, which is not a collection of business cards or LinkedIn connections or Twitter followers or Facebook friends. It's a collection of people that you've taken the time to identify that matter to you and your business, where you've worked at paying that relationship forward by establishing an authentic and relevant relationship, and that you've shared with that person how you might be able to help that person achieve their dreams, such that when they do make a buying decision, you're top of mind with them. So not only do they come back and buy from you, but they bring their friends with them. Ultimately, I think that you need to figure out how you might be able to help and serve other people, and on a daily basis, inspire and educate other people about how you can help them grow. And the core part of being able to identify people that matter is getting to know them. You need to do your work before you build a conversation with any company or any business and understand how you might serve them. And in the old days, we did that by going in somebody's office and looking at their walls, looking at the books they read, the degree of the school they went to, the knickknacks they collect. And we did that in order to figure out what we had in common so we could share that with that person, so we could then establish a conversation, some intimacy and trust, so they'll open up to us about their business issues, which as a professional you can then solve. Selling starts with learning, and learning starts with listening. You need to understand those people so that you can then determine how you might serve them. Today, as you all know, we're doing this electronically, and this is just the first wave of a huge change in the ways that customers are making buying decisions. Companies will be engaging with those customers, and it's increasing transparency across all those areas. I truly believe that the privacy of big cities was really a fallacy, and that social is really bringing us all back to a small town, where social is increasing transparency, whereby the expectations of the new social customer to companies and the new social employee to employers is changing the way we all work and play. And most people outside of the social tech Kool-Aid drinking coast are just sort of standing on the outside of this looking in, going, how do I get in there and participate in this new conversation to build my brand, to grow my network, to have an opportunity to serve others so that I can help them grow and thereby help myself grow? Well, I have to tell you that social isn't anything new. Business has always been social. People buy from people they like, and they like people who know them. And ultimately, the precepts that you learn from your grandmother, from the first cotillion party that you went to, they're all really still applicable in today's business. So I think it's the basics that wins games. That the ideas of Zig Ziglar, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Brian Tracy are all still with us today. It's follow-up, follow-through, being top of mind with your customers so when they make a buying decision, they consider you. And I know that many of you who are out there trying to do social are feeling like this. You're basically overwhelmed by the contacts and the conversations that are occurring in all these different places, and you're trying to figure out, how do I stand out from the crowd? How do I build my brand? And ultimately, I have to tell you that you don't do that by telling people how great you are, how great your products and services are, because people buy a better version of themselves. They don't buy great products. So ultimately, if you teach people to fish, they'll figure out you sell fishing poles. And so my best advice for you today is stop talking about yourself, stop talking about your products, and talk about how other people can grow. And the best way to do that is to do what I did to build two global technology brands. Both Goldmine and Nimble were built through conversation with influencers of my core constituency in and around the areas of promise of my product. So I'll say that a little slower. The idea is there's no way you could spend enough money to build a brand and nurture a network that would help you to build businesses today. And that was true back in the goldmine days. So the way that we built Goldmine is we built the first networkable relationship platform. And I'm not saying a sales platform, because I don't think it's just salespeople that touch the customer. Everybody in the company touches the customer throughout the customer lifecycle if you're doing your business right. So sales, marketing, customer service, accounting, the C-suite, product are all engaging with the customer. And what you need is a platform across the entire team so that everybody's on one page. So no matter who picks up the phone, you know who you're talking to, what's pending, who's going to do it, what's been done, who's done it, and you have all communication and conversation in one place. Now think about this. When we built Goldmine, Outlook didn't exist. The term SFA and CRM were non-existent. We had built the first platform that had contact management, network scheduling, email, sales and marketing automation, and collaboration in a team tool. In fact, most people don't know that not only did we invent contact management, SFA, and CRM, but also automated marketing. So if you Google automated processes, Goldmine had the first automated marketing platform built into it. So I had all these ideas in 1990. I built this platform. This was when networks just started. Notebooks just started. Client-server computing was just starting. People didn't know they needed a network relationship management system. So what I did was I identified the key influencer of my core constituency. I cold called every Novell reseller in the country, and I got them to use Goldmine, because people sell what they know and they know what they use. They then started using it. They then recommended that their customers, and this is how we bootstrapped Goldmine on $5,000, no bank loans, no venture capital. Today, we're doing the same thing with Nimble, where rather than advertising about Nimble or trying to talk about my background, what we do is we identify the key influencers of our core constituency in and around the areas of promise of the product: sales, marketing, customer service, social media, social business, social selling influencers. And we establish connections and conversations by sharing their content and engaging in a pay-it-forward relationship where they become not only advisors to Nimble, evangelists for the product, but also contributors to our blog. And so what I'm saying is, don't sell, listen to learn, and find ways to add value to your customers as a trusted advisor, because nobody wants to buy from Slick Willie anymore. They want to buy from somebody who's going to help them make better decisions faster. And ultimately today, we used to yell at the customers about how great our products and services were, and then expect them to line up like lemmings in front of our salespeople who would bag them and tag them and get the order, and then you'd shove them in front of the customer service 800 number and forget about them. Well, today, customers are ignoring your market material. They're having conversations amongst themselves. They're making buying decisions without talking to your sales reps in many cases. And then they're yelling back at your company on whatever channel they want to, whatever department they want, and they expect an authentic and relevant response in a timely fashion. And most people's idea of responding to that is to hire a 25-year-old kid and give them Hootsuite and have them respond to people yelling at them, or worse yet, use marketing and social to yell at the customers how great they are. What you need to do is you need to do what I call is the inspire and educate your customers, and it's not through marketing. You do not build brands through marketing. You build brands by making promises and delivering on experience, and that goes across your entire team. So if you take a look at the typical life cycle, and this model of a funnel is actually 100 years old. The funnel that we use today was built in the late 1800s, and I'd say that this model showing acquisition, engagement, and revenue generation, and then retention or referral, is probably the one that most of you are familiar with today. And I even say that this model is a little bit archaic because the customer journey has even changed since then. But ultimately, you need to share content to inspire and educate rather than interrupt marketing. And then you need to engage that customer in conversation during the buyer journey so that when they do make a buying decision, they think of you, and then post the journey, you're continuing to engage in conversation to reinforce that loyalty loop, so not only do they come back and buy again, but they bring their friends with them. So this is really a journey that your entire team should be participating in. whereby each of you are sharing content from your respective areas of expertise in sales, marketing, customer service, accounting, product management, where they see your company as a educator that can help them grow their business. And then what they'll do is they'll figure out that the products and services that you sell are actually added value to their needs, and then they'll consider you. And so I encourage each of you to go up to Google, McKinsey, and the new customer journey decision cycle to understand how you can begin to participate in the cycle of the new customer when they're making their buying decisions and formulating ideas of what products to use. They're going to be talking to their friends. They're going to be talking to experts. They're going to be reading publications and articles. And so this is why I tell any business person today, it's more than prospects and customers that you need to be nurturing and developing relationships with. It's editors, analysts, bloggers, influencers, third-party developers, investors, advisors. And so you need to be using a platform that enables you to establish relevant and authentic pay-it-forward relationships with people, where you can then nurture these relationships and they can then participate in helping you build a sustainable community around your business that can help it grow. And so the key takeaways that I have for you are the 5 E's for social business. And this involves both personal as well as professional, individual as well as companies. You need to do what I call the 5 E's of social business. Educate, enchant, engage, embrace, and empower your customers. Because ultimately, if you have the customer's needs in mind, where you're educating them about how they can grow, enchanting them with relevant and authentic engagement, embracing them with intent to empower them to succeed, you're going to build not just a customer base, but influence with that community where they'll start talking about you. And so ultimately, the highest form of influence in marketing today is recommendations from people they know. And so what you want to do is to build a constituency around your business of individuals that are sharing your story, sharing your passion. You need to be able to tell a story and get other people to tell that story, and it needs to be a story that is mapped to the products and services and the promises that you're delivering. And if you do that, you could spark a fire for your network that will empower your company to grow and succeed. And the key thing that you need to understand is that a social business today is empowered by social employees. Every single business person you hire, you should be considering hiring them for their personal brand and their professional network, and encourage them to use that brand in their network on behalf of your company in order for you to build the company brand and to achieve your business goals. And so I believe the future of work is bringing your network to work with you, bringing your tools to work with you. In the old days, we used to give somebody a CRM and a desktop or notebook or even a cell phone. Today, people are bringing their own network, their own tools, and their own brand to work. Imagine if you could bring that brand and network and put it to work inside of all your customer-facing business tools. I think that's the future. Find experts that are experts that your constituency trusts, and begin to share their content and engage in conversations with those experts, and eventually you'll become an influencer in that community of that sustainable garden that can help your business grow. So in closing, I'm going to share a story with you about my wife, Arlene. She's an artist, she's an inspiration, and she's somebody that keeps me grounded and helps me grow in spiritually, emotionally, as well as on my business. Because the other day she pulled me out in her garden and she showed me this monarch butterfly, and she said that this monarch butterfly is part of the sustainable garden that she's building around our home. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, well, this monarch butterfly can only the monarch butterfly caterpillar can only exist by eating milk thistle. I said, why? Well, the milk thistle makes it so that birds won't eat it because it makes it poisonous to the birds. So I plant milk thistle to attract the monarch butterfly caterpillar, which also eats the bad insects that I would otherwise have to spray pesticides in order to protect our garden. And so she's taught me about how she plants in the garden a variety of low water, native, sustainable plants that attract certain birds and insects that enable the garden to grow with low water, no pesticides, and deliver to our home beauty and sustenance in herbs and flowers that make our home more wonderful. And I said to her, isn't this really what businesses are trying to do? They're trying to build a relationship with their constituency. And I say constituency because it's not just prospects and customers going to help you grow your business. And we're trying to build these pay-it-forward relationships so that we are together empowering each of us to succeed. And so one last thought that I'm going to leave with you is I believe that we're on this planet to grow our souls and help other people grow theirs. And we do this by being present with other human beings, by sharing our passions and our dreams. And through that sharing, through that conversation, through that vibration, you're empowering other people to achieve their dreams and thereby yours.
I just want to remind everybody to use the H2H chat hashtag if you have any questions. Bryan has given away some goodies at the end, so make sure that you are using that hashtag and asking any questions that you have of us. We'd love to entertain them. All right, let's get started. As I mentioned, we have 15 minutes here, and we're trying to shove a lot of information your way and a lot of value your way. But I really think that there's six critical components to moving your business, your brand, whether you're a personal brand or a business brand, to a top-of-mind position when people want to buy from you. And right now, I think we have to stop thinking like we're marketing in 2004. So many things have shifted as it relates to social buying. You may know this or you may not, but people who like your Facebook page are 19% more likely to buy from you. 7 out of 10 people say that they are more likely to use a business if they can check them out on social media first. In fact, I am often telling people that your social presences are your business card. It's not to say that business cards are irrelevant, but people do check you out and they check out your social profile, so that's very important. 81% of people said that their buying decisions are directly influenced by what their friends share on social media. 81% of people are influenced by what they see other people share on social media. I think that's incredibly important. Think about it. Used to you had 1 or 2 choices when it came to buying things, and now, you go to the grocery store and there's an entire aisle of cereal choices, for example. So it's very hard to stand out in a crowded marketplace today, and even above and beyond that, how people buy has fundamentally shifted. They don't, buy like they used to. They don't see a billboard and, rush out to buy whatever's shown on that billboard. People today are tech savvy. And more importantly, they've discovered that they have a voice on social media and they can connect with people around things that they care about and share things that is common ground. So things have just totally shifted towards a place that people are again buying products in such a different way. But let's just think about this. Can you name the last time you picked up the phone and called a number on a billboard? I mean, I can't even begin to think of the last time I even paid attention to a billboard. You didn't fast forward through a commercial. We actually will even record a show if we want to watch it and just go back and watch and we TiVo it and go back and watch it later so that we don't have to watch the commercials. And this is a biggie. When is the last time you rushed out to your mailbox with enthusiasm to see that latest direct sales piece? We don't pay attention to all the traditional stuff anymore. What wins, billboards or our cell phones? People are more tied to their cell phones. They're communicating, they're connecting, they're buying through their cell phones even. So the whole buy model is kind of gone out the window. It's just not working for people anymore, and more specifically for businesses. People buy from those that they know, like, and trust. And so let's get into the 6, I think, components for any business owner, whether they're a small business owner, they have personal brand, or literally whether they're a massive brand. I think the very first thing you have to do when you start, whether it's on social media or you're getting started in the sense that you want to have a presence that people are going to engage with, and more specifically are going to buy from. You have to be committed to it. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to set up a Twitter account, or I'm going to have a Facebook page. You have to be committed. You have to marry it, or to quote Gary Vaynerchuk, you have to put a ring on it. There are very few barriers to entry for social media, so it seems like you can easily succeed with social media, and so many businesses approach it from that stance. But unfortunately, that is just the tip of the iceberg. Social media does not make anything easy. It may make things faster, but definitely not easier. So social media is just an amplifier of what you do and the value that you bring to your community or your audience. And if you have a significant contribution to make, then social media can amplify that contribution and that content or that value that you bring. But however, I think though you have to set yourself up for making that significant contribution, and that requires a commitment. You're also more exposed once you see you're a player in social media and you get out there and you start serving your audience, meaning that you need a higher level of commitment to keep living up to those implicit promises that you're making with your brand. So if you disappear for days on end, or you add no value to your community, then you are really putting a ding on your brand's viability. And then consistency. I can't talk enough about consistency as it relates to being present on social media and being, consistently adding value to your community, delivering that value day in and day out, being present, engaging. It is incredibly, incredibly important. And if you do that and you are consistent, then you do come top of mind more frequently when somebody needs what you have to offer, or ultimately what your company product or service that you're selling. And then care, I think, honestly, at the root of all sales is, I think, care. When you truly care about serving others, it shows up in everything that you share on social media, and it will return to you tenfold. I'm just a huge believer that I call it customer care instead of customer service, because I think there is a difference. There is a service level, and then there is a true care factor that can be showcased in so many other ways outside of just the straight up customer service that most of us are familiar with. But there's an old saying. I'm sorry. I wanted to just add one last thing. There's an old saying that goes like this: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that we see that more and more on social media, people that are actually human and engaging, to use Bryan's human-to-human factor. It is incredibly important to showcase that and just showcase that care. And then another thing that I think is incredibly important, and I know you can actually sell products and services on social media without creating, physical content yourself, but you still have to have content, whether that's someone else's content or user-generated content, but content is the bedrock of any social media participation, whether that's a blog post, a podcast, a video, a tweet, a Facebook post. Anything that's out there that is visible is a representation of you and your brand. If you consistently produce, amazing content that takes care of a pain point for your audience, then you have a winning combination. Producing great content takes time. Yes, it does. Producing great content that is entirely focused on your audience takes more time, but it can be so worth it. If you treat that as work, or if it's a pain point for you, then it's going to be a struggle for you. But if you just focus on that as being an investment in your business, then that will give you so much bigger return for your time, because it is a critical piece, in my opinion, of delivering value and, again, being top of mind when somebody needs your product or service. Oh, I keep going backwards here for some reason. Sorry about that. And I also think that we have to lead with value without the expectation of reward. Or I'm from the South, so those of you who have ever heard this saying before, but being as handy as a pocket on a shirt. I don't know how many times I've heard that over the course of my life. But I think that's exactly what we have to be. I think we have to be that resource that we ultimately, do come top of mind when people want what we have to offer. And this is a part that is critical as well, is we have to talk to people, guys. I mean, you can't just put stuff out there and then not engage with your audience. It is incredibly important because, again, social media it's like a huge cocktail party. It's a two-way conversation. You wouldn't, approach somebody at a social environment and rush up to them and say, oh, I sell on my website, it's 20% off, you have to rush right over there, and oh, here's my phone, by the way, and I've already got the website pulled up, you just need to order. So you wouldn't do that. So why would we even begin to think that's acceptable in the social space? And yet so many businesses do that. They are still going in that direction of buy, and it just doesn't work. You have to engage, you have to build relationships. And you don't want to be talking about yourself all the time. If you are talking about yourself all the time, you're going to be standing in the corner all lonely. So I hope that you are not talking hope that you are not talking about yourself all the time. I hope that answer is no. And just to sum this up, conversation builds relationships, and relationships are what drive the sales. It's not like it used to be. It's not a billboard. It's not the latest, piece of direct sales mail that we get in our mailbox. It is today sales. Many sales are originating through conversations that are taking place on social media, whether it's with each other or whether it's with you and a prospect, or sometimes you're having conversations that don't result in a sale for months on end. But you have to build those relationships, and sometimes those relationships are direct and indirect. When I say direct and indirect, sometimes direct relationships are just that, where you're personally talking one-on-one with someone. But you're also building relationships with what I call lurkers, and there are way more lurkers on social media than there are engagers. So by virtue of the conversations that you're having with the one-on-one relationships, the lurkers see those conversations, they see how you engage, they see how you handle yourself and your business, and you are building indirect relationships literally by just holding those conversations and directly building relationships with people. It is pretty amazing how that works. And then community. I mean, community in its simplest definition is a group of people who, kind of congregate in the same places around a common interest. The neat part about social is that it has really connected us as a world, and people can connect with people that they would never in the ordinary course of life be able to connect with and ultimately do business with. But you can't really scale great heights alone. You need a community to help you. And if you, step back from it and look at it another way, the community needs you, as others in the community also can't scale great heights alone. So whatever you do to make your community stronger benefits everyone in the community. Things are really interconnected when it comes to how you work within a community. Your level of influence goes up with the level of your caring, your level of contribution to that community, the level of value you bring to that community. So as the level of your contribution goes up, it becomes easier to make more valuable contributions. It's just a virtuous cycle. So if you want to do a quick test about your level of engagement with your community, ask yourself this one question. If I disappear from the community that I'm building today, how big will the void that I create leave? If you think, well, geez, I'm not sure it's going to make any void or it's going to leave any void, then you might not have the true definition of a community. Community is something that is a little difficult to grow, but you can just be yourself and engage, build those relationships. And the community is not about you just talking to your audience. It's about them talking to each other. So build out and foster a relationship within your community that they can engage with you and engage with each other and form connections and network with each other. It's invaluable. And again, people connect with people. They don't connect with logos. You know, today I am always telling people this, that people will connect with you on a personal level before they'll connect with your product or your service. So make sure that you are just, human. To go back, honestly, Bryan has an amazing H2H. No more B2B, no more B2C, H2H. Just get in there and be a person and reflect that inside of your company, and let your brand stand for that. Be relatable to the people that you serve. Because successful social media marketing is not built on impressions, it's built on relationships. If your intent is, really to build a strong brand, your authenticity and the integrity that you bring and that you showcase are critical to that success. So don't think you can get away with trying to do something or be something that you're not. Today, people can sniff out a fake in a heartbeat. Somehow, someday, the real you always shines through. So the need for brands to be authentic is more important than ever before because of the rise of social media. It's not that social media has changed the definition of authenticity. It is just that there are now more and easier opportunities for not just the company, but its customers to influence a brand's image. Bryan had a great quote early on in his presentation about, our brand isn't what we say it is, it's about what the consumer says it is. And that is so true. And I just want to really, I always end my presentations with making a point that people's time and attention are valuable, and it should be something that we highly prize as a business owner. If they're giving us their time and their attention, then we are holding in our hands something that's extremely, extremely valuable. Delivering a great opportunity to give that value to an audience that has a need for what we, are putting out there into the marketplace is, again, it's just a win-win for both sides if it's done correctly. I did want to just mention this real quick. I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but one of the things that I've just started is a social selling made simple inner circle. If this is something you want to learn more about, please don't hesitate to jump over and take a look at this. And again, I'd love to connect with you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you, Bryan.
So much. Thank you, Kim. And Bryan and John and all three of you guys just absolutely knocked it out of the park. Just wanted to make sure that you three can hear me and we can hear each other, and then I'm going to jump into questions. So
yeah. I agree. Amazing presentations by both you and Bryan, Kim. Loved it.
Thank
Bryan,
you.
You're there too?
Likewise. I'm
Good.
here.
Good. Okay. And Kim, thanks again. Bryan, John, really enjoyed it. Just to make sure that we're staying with time here, we're gonna treat this like speed dating. You each have 1 minute to answer. We're gonna do 4 questions and wrap up on time. How's that? So I'm not even gonna wait for your answer. So here's the first one, and I'm going to start with John. At what stage do you start to social sell once the relationships are built? That's by Joey.
Well, I actually answered that in the stream a minute ago, but ultimately stop selling, serve. If you are truly doing social selling right, you're earning trust and developing relationships, which gives you an opportunity to learn about that prospective customer, and once you learn enough, you could then determine if your products and services will serve them, and if they do, you could certainly let them know about that. But ideally, if you've developed the relationship right and you're paying it forward with inspirational knowledge, they already know about your product, so you don't need to sell. They will actually come to you and buy from you and bring their friends, and if you don't fit for them, recommend somebody who does.
Great. And I'm going to keep this moving. So this question is from Jessica. And Bryan, I think this is a great question for you. How are native ads and programmatic advertising affecting the buyer experience? Again, sorry, but we gotta keep it under a minute.
Yeah, I think what's cool is it's enabling companies to have a better opportunity to tell their story throughout the buyer journey, right? So they may have visited once and come again, and you can keep telling that story over and over again as they're on different websites and no longer just buying from your website. And again, if you can make those things very useful, I'm finding great success with companies using programmatic advertising to promote content, not just ads to sell something. So I think it's a very powerful tool.
Fantastic. And again, moving this forward, Kim, this is an excellent question from Molly. Molly asked, what's the best place to get inspiration to start this process? It seems so overwhelming at first.
Well, it can be overwhelming, especially when you first get started. So if I were to give any advice at all, is baby steps are better than no steps. And I would start with something very specific. So if you don't have a website set up, or if you don't have a blog yet, I think a blog holds so much value to any business owner today. Or if you're not on a specific social platform, basically just get started and baby step it. Don't try to eat the elephant. In other words, find a point of some place where you can get started and sink your teeth in, and do that one thing very well, and then move on and continue to broaden your horizons.
That's fantastic. We've got so many other questions, and we just really don't have enough time. This is great that we don't have enough time for such a great topic, and so maybe we can all do this again and extend the conversation. But in the meantime, let me make sure that everyone knows what the surprises are. We've got some really cool things. So Bryan Eisenberg has offered to hand out his book, his new book, and Bryan is going to be giving that away to some people that have asked questions throughout, so that will come out in a follow-up email. As well, John Ferrara has graciously offered 4 seats for 3 months on his awesome, and I'm telling you it's awesome because I'm sorry, I'm going to sell you, John. I moved my whole company to Nimble, and so he is offered 4 seats to people that had asked questions, and again, that will be drawing, and we will announce that in the follow-up email as well. And as you saw, Kim offered up a great social sales circle. Kim, can you tell us the URL one more time?
Yes, it's basically kimgarst.com/SS inner circle. Awesome. And Bryan, I would be happy to, if you want to just choose a few people, we'll give, maybe 5 memberships to that inner circle if you want.
Oh, great! That's so nice of you. Thank you. Okay, so then we'll follow up with that and do a drawing as well for everyone that participated in the questions, and we'll announce those seats in the follow-up email as well. So expect a follow-up email with lots of great stuff and people named to all these great things. And thank you so much. If there's any further questions, I know everybody will be happy to respond on Twitter. And
I'm going to interrupt you, Bryan.
Yeah.
Bryan, thank you for your wonderful heart, humanity, and pulling us all together, enabling us to get up on our soapboxes and share what we're passionate about, helping other people grow. Without you, this wouldn't have happened. So, love you, man.
Aw, thank you.
Ditto. 2 dittos.
Great job.
Thanks, guys. You guys knocked it out of the park. Thanks for making everything look good. And as always, I love you guys as well. So thanks everyone out there in the audience. We'll do this again, I'm sure of it. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.